So we're going to go a bit deeper into this conversation now. And really, the first question I'd like to ask is really, let's talk about what the feminine principle is. We've thrown some things around here, but what is feminine principle and what is feminine power? And how does it show up different than maybe the norm in our society? What is a little bit different about that? And what is living those values and outcomes? And what is the outcome that would be different from employing the feminine principle? And the kind of values we're talking about is living in a heart-centered way and operating in a heart-centered way on everything, including business. Can you imagine if all business was coming from the heart? How that would be a different world. A nurturing and healing, and having that a valued component of how we live our society, how we run our governments, that nurturing and healing is a basis for how we run our world. And what about honoring the whole instead of the pyramid structure that seems to be ingrained in our corporate structures in our society? How would that be different? And how would we have a different outcome in the world? High-level collaboration. The feminine principle knows how to come in circle and work together. That's what they know because they raise families and they deal with kids and making everything work, and that's ingrained in the feminine principle, in the woman and in all of us. Abundant creativity is part of the feminine, as well as authentic communication, speaking truth. And this is an important one, allowing the flow of spirit instead of just the rigid agenda. The rigid agenda is really good for laying it out, but allowing flow and spirit to come through, as well as deep intuition to guide how you manifest and how you create and how you lead forward. And of course, as we've said, operating in the frequency of love. So I'd love the panel to take maybe 1, 2, 3, or whatever they want to say from their heart on these subjects and really honor and talk more about these feminine principles and how they work in the world. And we're going to do this popcorn. It looks like Eden wants to go first.
It's there, so I'll speak. So one of the things that I've noticed about this feminine principle that I'm really embodying, and with my husband as well, John, we, just like many people here, we also do work in tandem together in partnership. And I've seen how he works, how I work, and also sometimes it's flipped, that I'm very much the masculine doer, and he has to remind me, hey, be in your heart, get out of your head. But what I've really noticed that's really helped is, most of us who were raised in this world is very much doing, pushing this. We want to go do something, we have to make it happen and make the phone calls and do our things on social media and go brainstorm and especially in the business world, right? Or whatever project and endeavor we may be all doing. But for example, right now I'm actually working with a client who's in New York, and he is a beautiful musician, works at Saturday Night Live and all these things to produce music, but is very doing and go and pushing all his projects. And it's like, whoa, we have to completely flip that model. And for me, any project now that I envision, or a retreat center we're building, or a trip that we want to fill, or whatever it is, or business we want to launch, is instead of the laundry list of every to-do that we all have in our day-to-day lives, right? It's the flip of, first, let's check in with the heart. Is this in the flow? I never do a project now or never launch something creatively unless I feel it in my heart first. Am I being called into this? And it's surrendering to that and opening and then visioning. We all know how to manifest here. We're all familiar with a lot of different ways to manifest. But coming into that heart space of, is this in alignment with what I'm meant to do, or divine channel, however you want to call it? Is this my destiny to do? And then I feel that in my heart space, right? And feeling into that. And then from there, what am I envisioning? What am I attracting into this feminine spin, this feminine creation energy that needs to be birthed? And then from there are going to be steps we need to take. There is going to be action. That's the Western world we live in. But it's, again, starting from the heart place and starting from this flow place of seeing, envisioning, and manifesting whatever it is you're up to, and then going to the action steps after. I know there's a lot of areas of feminine energies here we could talk about, but that to me is one key piece now of bringing in this feminine principle in everything we do. And we're seeing it in organizations. My husband right now is working with a company that's going into like Airbnb and different companies, and they're starting to look at, whoa, how do we shift what we're doing because this doesn't work? Things start to fall apart when everyone's in this hyperactive do, go. Everyone gets burnt out and exhausted, and that doesn't work for humanity anymore. We have the health issues we do. We have the personal crises we're doing because we're constantly trying to push ourselves in this masculine energy, men and women alike. So how, again, do we come back into the flow state? There's a famous book right now about that, but the flow state of who we are and how we operate in the world from this divine alignment where you show up everywhere on time, in perfect timing because you're in the flow. The right people get attracted to you because you're in the right flow, because you've set your intention, your heart is open to receive that. And life becomes so much more fluid because you're not having to push your way uphill anymore. It just naturally flows. And to me, that is the beauty of coming into that space of the feminine.
Great. Thank you so much. Annelise or Michelle?
I was just going to add to that, but my whole life I was chastised for the way that I operated in time, really out of time, which is the time of no time. And a lot of people in my life were angry with me because I always seemed to go at my own pace and with the flow, but it always seemed like it was the perfect time. So I feel like I can let my shoulders down right now and say, wow, I'm so grateful that we're all coming into that knowing that it is the perfect time, it is divine time, that we can all be here together sharing this space. And the panel didn't start right on the money when we were supposed to, but everybody seemed to entrain to the perfect time. And there was no stress, no worry. We didn't have furrowed foreheads. We all showed up with just these sparkly, happy faces to see each other and be here. And no one in the audience seemed put off if we were too late. And Sarah graciously, went with the flow of time. I think that what we're doing right now is actually embodying what that principle of being in the magic time is all about. So thank you for bringing that up, and I'm so glad we're all here now.
And Annelise?
I just wanted to mention briefly, because I'm going through this health adventure, that I think the divine feminine principle in society, the transformation we're going to see, is that alternative care, which is holistic care, which is a divine feminine principle, you consider all things, you consider all beings, you consider all parts of the body when you're healing, is going to become regular health care. And then the Western allopathic medicine, that will be alternative care. My point was that you have to heal all systems. You can't just remove a tumor and get chemotherapy and radiation and expect to be well. You have to figure out why you're ill and heal all those systems. Maybe your thyroid's low, maybe you have heavy metal poisoning, maybe you have a root canal that's bad. There's all these little elements, and you must heal your heart. And forgiveness, which I think is a human principle, but it also seems very feminine too, because when you're a mother, you forgive your children no matter what they do. You love them no matter what. So those two things, healing the healthcare system and embodying forgiveness in our daily lives.
Really understand what happens to us. Our physical bodies is a representation of what's happening out there. So the cancer in a body is a representation of our oneness as a cancer. There are studies geographically of what happens in particular regions, particular zones, but we know fully that we found receptors out in the environment. Everything has an antidote to it within a few feet. We know through sacred geometry, so is above, so is below. For us to believe and know and take care of this vessel, this body, with the understanding that it's never outside us as well. The healing that's happening, the wholeness that's happening is all within here, and everything that's happening out there is happening within us. The more of us that have accepted what's happened before, the more we are able to heal our physical bodies, and everyone have access to that. Eckhart Tolle talks about an evolutionary biologist who said one flower popped, and then it took 10,000 years before another flower blossomed. 10,000 years, and now we have flowers everywhere. And what I know is we are the flowers of consciousness. We are the flowers. And for us to fully get, there's nothing out there that we can't heal by being in here, time-wise, connected to the heart. And every physical manifestation in here is a representation of something that's happening out there. Everything that's happening out there, the stars, the full moon, is having an effect on what's in here as well. The government, an effect in here. We are not separate. We are an energy field that's moving through an energy field that, and the deeper we can listen, and the deeper we can acknowledge and hear within ourselves, the deeper we can listen and acknowledge, the more power we can give to the environment out there from our hearts when we deliver it.
Thank you. Beautiful.
I could just say some words. Do you feel finished with that one?
No, I want some words from you.
All right. I know we just have a little bit of time for each question. Well, I call this the harmonic coding of the golden divine. And for me, it's about taking the spiritual principles and infusing them with the scientific, so that we feel like they're really grounded. And that's why I love sacred geometry and understanding the body and using the body as that holographic representation of the whole. And what's coming to mind, you guys all are so brilliant, so beautiful. What you shared is the resonance and alignment, really feeling that and knowing that there's a conversation that happens in my head, let's talk about me, and then there's a conversation that happens in my heart. And they're two very different conversations, particularly around time, because I happen to be on time all the time. So I'm like, oh, on time. And we have different relationships to these structures, but then it's all in divine timing, and it's all part of the divine plan when we open up to the place of the holistic thinking and the unity consciousness instead of the polarity, right? And that's what we're talking about, is really embracing all those aspects and coming into the grace and ease. And I think people can relate to this, and this relatedness that the feminine brings for both males and females is to understand that it is really grounded and it's really structured so that it can be spontaneous. So there's flexibility in it, but it definitely has the container for it to grow. And that's why it's so important for it to come into balance and harmony. So the harmonic coding is the amplification of those two seemingly opposite things that are constructively interfering and becoming more. And I think that's the importance of understanding the power of the masculine and feminine and how they are coming into resonance. And that's what we're experiencing here. And what a joy it is to be on a panel like this, all coming back into balance within our own individual self. And this is how innovation happens. This is how we progress and move forward, both in sciences. That's why I brought together like spirituality and physics, and then brought together the technologies and the healing arts. These things where people are like, you're crazy, what are you doing? What do you mean quantum healing? What's that? And now, 20 years later, it's everywhere. We're seeing that is really the growth, and that is really how we expand.
Great, beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else? We're ready for the next question.
I'll say it quickly. Yeah, we might as well just shout out a few things. Something that came to me is I feel the divine feminine is, and especially all these goddesses, is so much about giving. We love to give. And as mothers, or I'm a fairy mama, or each woman, whatever way she mothers in the world, a lot of that love is giving, the joy of really sharing. And yet, as a divine feminine, it's also to receive. And that beautiful flow of giving and receiving and giving others the gift to give. And I know that's a big one for me, is to truly receive. And we all have wombs of that receiving and letting the masculine have that place, but also, you know, to find the balance. And I think of some of the people that really are amazing, you know, examples. Amma, who hold the divine feminine, where she is so powerfully living unconditional love and unconditional giving and unconditional, you know, just, it's not even about her, but what comes through her. And I think that's where we all just really, if we all just let that gift come through us, whatever that may be. And on that note, one of my favorite things to do is just encourage everyone, as Sarah had them give hugs to ourselves. Will everyone just take one moment, close your eyes, and take a nice deep breath. And feel your heart. Really feel your heart. And now breathe out from that heart space. Now one more deep breath and breathe into the heart space. And just feel your heart connected to everyone in this room, to your loved ones, and to all, that we truly are one, that it's not just some New Age phrase. And go ahead and open your eyes and smile. You've got the Divine Feminine.
Thank you, beautiful.
I love that there's so much talk about balance, because I think that being in a group of women with such hearts of surrender, but with such gifting and developed in each of our unique offerings to the world, one of the reasons that we're able to do that is an increased balance within ourselves. And the other day, I was talking a little bit about the marriage of sovereignty and surrender. And as we are rising as the feminine, it's really important not to swing over to that place where we are trying to fight for our sovereignty, but that we are surrendering and accepting what is, not only in ourselves, but what is in front of us. And as we surrender, we're able to step deeper into our sovereignty because we're no longer in resistance. And so I love this balance. It's so important that we strike this balance.
Yes, I agree. What was coming to mind when everyone was speaking is that I think the importance of the mental plane, where I find a lot of the masculine and also, women that have embodied a lot of masculine, is the importance of shifting out of the mental plane into the feeling. This is about a feeling. We are really bringing forth in this world how important it is to be connected to your feeling center, to your second chakra, to your intuition. And so the shift for me in everyone's lives and in this whole planet is about honoring the feeling, and the flow is what we talk about. So I'm seeing that people that are really in tune are operating on all fronts. So mental and the emotional, as well as the physical, it is this holistic peace that we all strive for. So I think as a society, as really a species, where do we put our attention? If it's on material things outside of ourselves, because that is what's brought us, this self-worth. So as an entire species, we are shifting what we see as worth, because it's us. And love is worth more than anything in this world. And so I think that's the big shift that I've seen. So I think we've all seen the same thing. Thank you.
Beautiful.